Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to go over Victorian ideals of womanhood. And these ideas are going to seem really familiar. So during the Victorian era, women were actually supposed to adhere to separate spheres mentality. We talked about separate spheres mentality and we talked about how women kind of pushed back against that. But during the Victorian era, especially after the Civil War, more and more women actually embraced separate spheres mentality. And this is mainly white women, but they really believed that in order for them to do good, in order for them to be a woman, they really needed to stay home. They needed to stay out of politics. They needed to just care for the family. Now, the irony of this is that we see an increasing number of women working in the workforce. We see an increasing number of women reformers during this period. But for the bulk of white American women, this idea of separate spheres mentality, of domesticity, staying at home, they liked it. So everything in many ways was about making sure that women were confined to the home. And one way is through fashion. So in another page, you actually have some more pictures of fashion from this period. But I want to bring this one up. In this, we see women, and every single part of them is staged. There is nothing natural about this. They are wearing makeup. Their hair is elaborately done. For most of them, their skirts go to the ground. Now I see two women whose skirts aren't down at the ground, and these would have been young women, probably before the age of 16. It actually was a sign of maturity to quote unquote turn your skirts down so that they touched the floor. Here in the middle, there's a woman who she sees her skirt up, as you can see, but she's wearing a long riding skirt. This would have been for riding on horseback. And the idea was to hide her ankles. Now, this is very important. During this period, we have a lot of conversation on why women's ankles are so tempting to men. So, in order to prove that you are a pure woman, you must hide your ankles. And you can see that with our women who have shorter skirts, they have tall boots that come up. Women, you cannot, 100% cannot show your ankles, even stepping out of a carriage, stepping over a puddle. Otherwise, you could be named a sex worker. Women also had to take other means to assure their perceived purity. So several of these women are wearing gloves. It's only at home that you can show your wrist. If you go out to visit a friend, it depends how close you are to this friend, and you might be able to take one glove off, especially if it's a female friend, or if it's family, you could take two gloves off. But if you're out, dears, you must cover your wrist. All of this is to show the purity, the fact that you are adhering to separate spheres mentality. And you'll look at a few more of these images as we go along in this lesson. Now, that being said, women really didn't like this. Not all women, but some women. And so we see this moment of dress reform. Women saying, nope, I'm not doing this. The best example I can give is the bloomer. So when you think of a bloomer, think of your favorite leggings that you wear and make them a little bit baggier. And that's a bloomer. A bloomer would be worn under a shorter skirt. You can see that here, here, and here. But they still adhered to these ideas of separate spheres mentality, of showing you are pure. So I'm going to bring up this one. This is an exercise outfit for doing quote-unquote gymnastics, which in this period would have been the easiest calisthenics possible. Because, darlings, if you're working out, you cannot sweat. No sweating. So in this one, this woman is supposed to be working out. Well, we can see down here, her ankles aren't showing. Her wrists aren't showing. She's modestly attired, even though she's wearing the scandalous bloomers. Here we see a walking outfit, and again, ankles aren't showing, and if the woman wasn't holding her arm up, her wrist would be hidden. In this image, this is much more scandalous, and this probably would not have been made. We see an idea for a hunting outfit, and this is the closest to modern pants that we're going to see. Now, would women have actually worn this? Very few. So it's more of an idea versus what people wore every day. Now, intertwined with dress reform was not just for women, but also for children. So here I have a fashion plate of children's clothing that you can get. I'm going to start with the boy. Pretty straightforward, kind of what you expect. It's kind of interesting too because young men, a sign of maturity for them when they were between 8 and 11 was to get long pants. So these, which are cut off just below the knee, they could finally go to the end, down to the floor. And guys were so excited about this. Now for the women in this picture, the girls in this picture, a couple things should stick out. First, we can see their legs because they are not mature at this point, but their ankles are hidden. Their hair is well done. They look like mini versions of their mother. And they're all wearing corsets. This was a big thing. You could be put into a corset as young as 6 months, and the rest of your life you're wearing a corset. And you really see that here and here and here and here, that hourglass shape. That was a sign of separate spheres mentality. Because when you're in a corset, you can't do physical labor. You can't really work out. You're showing that you're staying at home. You're embodying domesticity. So people went, okay, wait, what? We're putting our kids in corsets? Wait, what? And so many dress reformers actually tried to promote that children wear an outfit similar to this. Much more free-flowing, easier to move in. Except here, we can see she's wearing a corset. So they would have said, take the corset. So we have these ideals, and we have people pushing against the cult of domesticity, separate spheres mentality. We said that through dress reform, but we also see that through women in the workforce. And I'm going to give you a specific example of Belle de la Cosa Green. So to give you context, by the 1880s, more and more women are working, not just in the factories, but they're also working as secretaries, as librarians, as teachers. It's becoming more and more common. And some of these women had a career. They didn't, just work until they got married. They had a full-time career. And this is where Belle de la Costa Green comes in. We think she was born between 1879 and 1883. We know she died in 1950. But based on the evidence we have, we think she lied about her age, so we're not fully sure. Belle de la Costa Green was African American. Look at this image. She was pale-skinned, but she was born into a prominent African American family. Her father was the first ever graduate from Harvard. Not the boys, her father. Now, because her family was pale-skinned, they ended up passing as white. Their mom took them away from their father. She basically divorced their father. And they moved to New York City and worked as white and lived as a white person. Now, Belle decided she wanted to be a librarian. And she actually went to library school. She worked in several academic libraries. But then she was approached to become the personal librarian to J.P. Morgan, who was one of the richest men of this period. And later she continued on with his son Jack. And that was her career. She did not follow this idea of femininity. She did not follow this idea of separate spheres mentality. If you saw her at a book auction, you knew that she came for something specific and she was going to leave with it. She'd walk into the auction room and all the guys would go, oh crap, we're not going to get what we want. She was good at it. She was known as the belle of the party, where she would go wearing scandalous dresses, not bloomers. And she could walk into a room and talk with anybody. She traveled extensively across Europe and America, and she never married. There's evidence to suggest that she had a couple love affairs, but she never married. Now, do all women follow this? Not every woman, but we see women challenging these ideas of domesticity. And a great example, as I said, is Belle de la Coste. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please let me know.